Last week was the 11th anniversary of one of the most beloved discs in all of disc golf. With a cult following unmatched by almost any other disc, the one and only Castoplast Berg has changed the approach game. At its core, the Berg is a super slow, low-glide putt-and approach disc with an ergonomic design. And in just the last couple months, there have been no less than 3 discs that are standing firmly in the Berg's shadow. So, do the MVP Stasis, Discraft Sled, or Gateway Charm have what it takes to break out on their own? Or is the cult following of the Berg too strong? Let's find out, because the disc is in the details. Hey everyone, it's Greg from Six Sided Discs, and don't worry, I didn't forget about the Streamline Range. But before we talk about the Range, Sled, Charm, or Stasis, we need to talk more about the Berg. The Berg has maintained popularity better than most discs on the market, certainly much better than anything else in the Castoplast lineup. And it pains me to say that because I love my yarn. But if you stay popular for as long as the Berg has, people start to come for you. Now, I don't want you to hear what I'm not saying about the Berg, because it was not the first disc to employ low-glide, thumb-track style technology. We've talked about discs like the Innova Rhino or Birdie, and many others that predate the Berg. But the Berg did smooth out those edges and appeal to a wider audience, so there's no debating that that has worked. Now, we've thrown the Berg countless times on our channel, we've tested it against other one-speed discs, and time and again, it showcases the 2 things that Bergs are best at: not flying very far, and flying pretty straight with just the slightest bit of overstability. Which makes the flight numbers of the Berg at 1102 just about right. The next new addition to the smooth ergonomic approach category came from MVP, specifically Streamline and the Range. Released in late 2024, the Range looks and feels quite similar to the Berg. It has a slightly lower profile overall, and the inverted flight plate is a little bit shallower. But clearly that recipe is working, because it's been a big hit. Compared to the Berg, the Range is a lot straighter. It's rated at 2.1, -0.5, 0.5, and it first and foremost flies much farther. For example, on this forehand I threw in a previous video, which easily sailed past 240 feet. But it is still very slow, still has very low glide, and by virtue of having a slightly more aerodynamic profile, it is much straighter than a Berg, even turning slightly at high speed. It took 9 years to get from Berg to Range, and there were plenty of discs with subtle or not so subtle thumb tracks in there, but since the release of the Range, Discraft and Gateway have wasted no time in introducing ergonomic thumb-tracked discs of their own, and even MVP has come back with another. Gateway released their newest putter, the Charm, just before Christmas. A signature disc for Kevin Fodry, the co-owner of Cardinal Disc Golf, the Charm is certainly not the only disc in Gateway's lineup with an inverted flight plate or thumb track design, but it is very much the newest. Rated at 3300, it's perhaps the least Berg-like in design, with a few actual edges to it rather than a fully smoothed out design. It features a blunt leading edge, and it's a bit deeper than the Range or Sled that we'll see in a moment. But what's very different about the Charm compared to the Berg or Range is its stability, or lack thereof. The Charm is actually quite happy to turn. That 0-0 rating in our experience was maybe more like -1, because as soon as it turned, it kept turning. But if you backed off on the power, it could give you a slightly straighter flight. No disrespect to Kevin, Gateway, or the Charm, but I think its release may have been slightly overshadowed by this, the Discraft Sled. The Sled is a fundraiser for the 2026 World Championships, which are being held just outside Detroit at the new Black Locust course and the iconic Toboggan, home of the Discraft Great Lakes Open. Yep, Worlds is back in the US after an incredible event in Finland last year, and we're extra excited because it's here in the Midwest, which means we are going. We're excited to announce that we'll be attending our first ever World Championships. We'll have a booth set up in the vendor village, so stop by and see us, and check out the hexagon for yourself. Alright, back to the Sled, 3.2, -1.2, interesting design, and look, I'm obviously not the biggest proponent of flight numbers, but man, when they're right, they're right. The Sled is undoubtedly flying way faster than the Range or Berg. It's also flying much farther, dare I say, gliding, and it feels excellent on both forehand and backhand. The Sled is yet another excellent entry in this ergonomic, super smooth category that's going to start needing a name of its own. Anyway, that's it, right? Nothing new or exciting since then. Oh, except maybe the hottest release of the year so far, which has technically not yet been released, the MVP Stasis. Available so far only at the Big Easy Open, we managed to snag one from a kind Redditor willing to trade us for a Proton Bokeh from Disc East, so shout out to you. You know who you are. We've only had the Stasis in hand for a few days now, but here's what I can tell you. First, it's the closest thing to the Berg since the Berg. It's deeper and chunkier than almost every other disc we looked at today, and it feels a lot more like the Berg, no doubt about it. So the question is then, how might it be different? Well, obviously it's an overmold, and side by side, there's a pretty big difference in parting line, with the Stasis much higher. And according to everyone on the internet, higher parting line is more overstability. So, is it? Well, yes, without a shadow of doubt. The Stasis is essentially the Berg OS. Now, yes, I'm aware that there was a Berg X, but for whatever reason, the Berg X has failed to get anything like the following or attention the Berg itself has gotten. Oh, and also, I'm aware that Berg is not the correct pronunciation, but I've tried on multiple occasions to get Swedish pronunciation correct in previous videos, and even the people from Sweden don't entirely agree on whether I got it right or wrong, so Berg it is. Ultimately, I think the Berg X was too similar to the Berg, rated at 1112 instead of 1102. And be honest, which of these is the Berg? Take a second, think about it. Exactly. Pink is the Berg, by the way. Hard to tell the difference. And for that reason, I think the Stasis may well carve out its own little slice of the ergonomic low-glide approach pie, just by virtue of being a truly overstable, Berg-inspired approach disc. Here's a quick visual to help you understand how all of these compare together. The Stasis and Berg are by far the slowest and shortest flyers. But while the Berg is only slightly overstable, the Stasis is very overstable. The Charm doesn't fly very far, but it does fly a little farther than the Berg, and it's also a little bit understable. While the lower profile, Range, and Sled both fly much farther, the Sled has just a touch more overstability and definitely more distance than the Range. So, there you have it. Are you part of the Berg gang, or are you drawn more to some of these newer alternative approach discs? Let us know in the comments below. And also comment below what other discs you like in this category, or what comparisons or explorations you'd like to see in the future. Remember, the disc is in the details. For Six-Sided Discs, I'm Greg. We'll see you in the next one. The next newest addition to the The next new newest addition to the smooth ergonomic approach category. Why can't I finish this sentence? The next new addition to this If you like this content and want to see more, please consider liking the video, subscribing to our channel, or becoming a member. Your support makes this content possible.